All right. Hello, everyone. Why do I have a warning sign? I'm gonna assume everybody can see me and hear me okay. Oh, it's system audio. All right, that should be fine. Cool. Welcome. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I know we're like a week in now, but I haven't live streamed. So, first, Happy New Year. You'll probably also notice that the desk position has been put back now that I've finished Fast Laravel. So you're back to the Vesta board behind me. Yeah, to that point, let me know you can hear me, see me okay, all that fun stuff. And let's get after it here. Let's get after it. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna build a new shift. All right, so we got a couple people. Yeah, I guess we're overlapping with the Worldwide Meetup. Apologies for that. I actually moved this stream back thinking I was not overlapping with them, but apparently I'm perfectly overlapping with them. So, sorry, Worldwide Meetup. All right, we're gonna add a free shift, and it's gonna be a Laravel Cloud compatibility check, right? So there's some requirements, I guess, to be on Laravel Cloud. Like, of course, your app, should be up to date, right? So you've come to the right place here for shift. And then also too, like, I guess, there's some extensions. The team sent me over a list of things. We're going to get into that document here in a little bit. But first, what we got to do is we need to break ground on a brand new shift here. So again, much like some of these like consolidators and the simpler things, this will be a pre-check. You'll be able to run it for free, available to anybody. It'll go in again, check your project, look for any like immediate issues that you might have that maybe don't meet the requirements to run your Laravel application and host it and run it on Laravel Cloud and its wonderful platform. So let's start building that. So if you've watched some of these streams before, you probably know that the Shift and the LaravelShift.com code base are separate. So the LaravelShift.com code base is a Laravel application. The Shift code base is PHP and other things. PHP, we're going to see. It's PHP at the heart. It's the glue, right? But beyond that, the Shift code base, also has shell scripts and underlying, commands that it runs on the system. There's things installed on the worker system that it can call out to, again, through the command line, underlying programs. So while PHP is still kind of the glue for all of that, the shifts themselves do run things underneath. But within the code base, I think you're going to see that it looks pretty familiar. It's going to look like a Laravel application, like maybe I'm writing some code inside of a Laravel application class, like a class within a Laravel app, but it is actually just PHP. So let's do the first thing we're supposed to do here as good developers, right? Let's do a git checkout, and let's call this, I think I'm calling this like pre-check for now. I don't know if that's going to be the final name. I was just kind of thinking of like cloud and flight, and when you go to the airport, like you're normally like pre-checked, right? If you're pre-checked, you get to go through, faster, right? That's the whole point. So if you run this pre-check and it's all green, right? If you're pre-checked, then you should just be able to go straight to Laravel Cloud, connect to your repo, deploy, boom, great. It's all out there. So if you've passed this pre-check, then you're ready to go. So that's kind of what I'm calling it for now. I don't know if that'll be its final name. But that's what we're going to call the branch. We're going to call the branch that. So let's do that. Let's check the chat. I'm hearing some stuff. Dave, Devin, hey, what's up, guys? Mateus, hey. Samuel, what's going on? I'm seeing some regulars here. Florian, hey. I think it's been a while since you've been on one of the streams. Nice. I think you're Laravel team too, right? Got some Laravel team peoples. Thumbs down. Who's thumbs downing me? What is this about? Come on. Did I blabber on too long about the code base? Sorry about that. Sorry about that, bot. Okay. Once my 2019 iMac indexes the damn project, I'll get started. I'm gonna be buying a new setup this year. I'm just waiting for Apple to like, you know, tell us if they're going to release anything cool. That's the worst thing ever. You wait all this time and you buy something and then it's like kaboom. So, how about Laravel Cloud Fast Pass? Yeah, I'm open to the names. Hit me up in the chat. Yeah, Cloud Pre-Flight. Yeah, Cloud Pre-Flight. Cloud Pre-Flight. Pre-check, Pre-Flight. Same thing there. Yeah, those are good. So, yeah, the 2090. If you could hear, I'm glad you can't hear, but it was humming there for it was about the pre-flight. So anyway, all right, let's get in here. The first thing inside of this is this shift factory. So that's kind of the first place we need to start. So I need to get into the shift factory, and we can see here this is just an old school factory. You give it a SKU that comes from the website, and it's going to give you an underlying shift. Right, the shift class, and we'll look at this here in a second. So again, I don't know what the final name for this is going to be, so we're going to call it Laravel Cloud. There is no LC here, so I'm just going to call it LC. And it is a Laravel shift, so we'll keep that, and we'll just stick with the Laravel Cloud here. You know, again, I can change this later. And let's go ahead and have PHP Storm create this class for us. Thank you. Looks like it's going to put it in the right spot. Sometimes that messes up. You got to check it. So this, let's see what a shift class implements a contract, I believe. Yeah, shiftable. So I'm just going to copy this because a lot of this stuff's going to be the same since it is also a Laravel app. So let's kind of copy this and run through it. So let's change this back to Laravel Cloud. Okay, so it implements shiftable. This is kind of a contract. And then I need to define a certain number of methods on it. And this just kind of allows me, again, some typing, of course, through the application. Now, before we proceed, another thing to remember about this is, again, it's a PHP code base. It's not necessarily a Laravel application code base. Also, Shift is 10 years old. So there might be some things in here you're thinking, oh, well, why aren't you using a collection pipeline? Or why aren't you using this, that, or the other? Or some modern feature that's been released in the world in the last 10 years? Yeah, it's a good question. Well, again, this was all written 10 years ago, so it just has some very basic PHP, OOP kind of stuff in it. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind. All right, so this is going to be called Laravel Cloud. This code is really just kind of like a file path type thing, so if we need to store any resources for this is kind of lets it know like where it goes. Does it require Composer? Yes, it requires Composer. We're going to be checking Composer for certain compatibility things, right? We're going to be verifying that it is. What type is it? This is kind of like a marketing thing or a brand thing. It is a Laravel shift. This really isn't used a whole lot, and honestly, it could be inferred from the namespace, but again, I didn't know that when I was kind of breaking all this up. So it's kind of legacy, but the type is Laravel. Its name is going to be, again, we'll call this Laravel Cloud. For now, we'll call it pre-check still. The resource path, we shouldn't need this, so I'm actually going to null it out, so it is nullable. Again, there aren't any resources specific to this. The Laravel 12 upgrade shift, for example, has resources. It has new config files and things of the application skeleton that it might dump into your project, but this one won't. This is really just kind of a very static checker. Same thing too, it probably won't have a latest version that corresponds to this. You could argue that maybe we need to know what the latest version of Laravel is. I don't know. I'm going to leave that alone for now. We got some to-dos in. Oh, we copied code. I was like, how do we get to-dos in here? All right, so let's just kill a couple of these because we don't need everything from the fixer. The fixer is a pretty big shift. Let's leave that in miscellaneous, though. I think we're going to want that. I think we're going to want some of these, so we'll actually hold on to a few of these. Okay. So, the main thing of these shift classes is that you can think of them kind of like a registry, so that they have like metadata about what the shift is. They're kind of like a flat model, right? And unbacked by the database model. Or a DTO even, maybe. Not really. It's not really a DTO because it's not transforming anything. It's just kind of a data class. Pretty lazy one at that. But this is where the beef is, okay? The tasks. Every shift has these, like, again, atomic tasks. And for the most part, they line up with the commits that you see when you run a shift. So each one of these, maybe does something. And And again, a lot of them do one-to-one line up with commits. So these tasks, you basically turn the SKU into a shift, and then we loop over those tasks to perform what needs to happen, right? So this is, again, kind of the infrastructure, the plumbing. This is how Shift kind of works. And so our goal is to kind of build all the tasks that we need to build for this Laravel Cloud Shift to kind of check and verify compatibility, leave comments. Again, it's probably not going to change anything in your project. It might, so we don't know, but I don't think that it would. Again, it's going to be a very kind of like audit, read-only kind of shift. So let's kind of get after what we need to build here. Let's finish setting up a few more things. So first, we're probably going to need, like, I think we'll keep determine major version because that's like a shared task. So we'll probably hold on to that. But I think here we'll be like, you know, maybe we'll have like framework version or Laravel version, I think is what we're kind of calling this. And I'm not going to say like check Laravel version. A lot of these are kind of verbs, but like everything would be check or upgrade or whatever. So I'm just kind of dropping that verb. It's kind of assumed under the context of this cloud shift that like, okay, we're going to look at the Laravel version. We're going to look at, you know, extensions. We're going to look at, you know, all these things, blah, blah, blah. We're going to look inside the application, like a lot of stuff like that. So instead of like check Laravel version, check configuration, check extensions, I'm just dropping check. All right, let's go ahead and let PHP Storm create this. Let's double check where it's going to be. So shift tasks, Laravel Cloud looks good. Shift, all right, cool. Okay, so let's talk about a task a little bit. So this extends task. We'll bring in the tasks. And so basically, in a nutshell, what a task does is it performs, right? It performs a task. And this is where we basically say things. So for something like the Laravel version, we're going to go into Composer. We're going to check your Laravel framework, you know, constraint. We're going to turn that into a major version. And we're going to see if you meet the requirements. I'm pretty sure it's like Laravel 9 and above. If you don't meet it, it doesn't stop the shift necessarily, but then we would want to like leave a comment. So let's just kind of like pseudocode that out. So the point here is like we'll get major version of Laravel from Composer JSON. We'll check that it is above, you know, 9.0, and then leave comment, right? So this is kind of like at a nutshell like what we would do inside of this. So we'll fill all this out, but there's still some more plumbing we need to do here. So this gives us like a foothold for that. Let's go ahead and make this cloud miscellaneous one as well, because there's always a miscellaneous. It's like for like it's like the cleanup task at the end of all shifts, right? So we don't extend Laravel version, we extend task. All right. And then let's go here. Oh, thanks, Devin. Let's get this. Okay. That formatted like trash. No, I got you. You're cool. You're cool. Can I copy from? How can I not select text? Come on, eCam. What the? Oh, there we go. Copy. You got to right click. That's fun. All right. All right. Where were we? This one. Let's plug this in here in the comments since Devin was nice enough to drop it in for us. All right. Cool. So you got... Basically, you have to run the latest version of Laravel 9 or higher, right? So like you can't just be Laravel 9.1, you got to actually be, you know, 9.52, I'm sure, because there's security patch releases, whatever, higher up in that version. That'd be my guess. So basically, yeah, Laravel 12 and above, green light. So yeah, so to kind of refine this, we would have to say that, you know, so basically we're like if Laravel 12 or above, you know, return effectively. And then it's like if above 9. So we kind of have like this fall off. Then note, you know, Composer update basically, right? If we run Composer update, we're guaranteed. If we advise them to run Composer update, then we would be guaranteed that they would have the latest patch release here, right? Unless they just had like a really odd constraint. But we can check that. We can check that. And then finally, it's kind of like else. We need to be like, basically here's my chance to upsell Shift, right? There we go. Yeah. If you're running before level 9, like, you're in the right place. Go back to that page. Go back out here and run this puppy, right? There you go. Okay, so again, we get an idea of kind of how these tasks work. So before we start diving into one of these, let's kind of see what else we need to do. So let me bring up my Mac here. Which since we're making jokes about my hardware here, I think this Mac's actually older than the iMac. Hold on a second. About this Mac. Hold on, let's see. 2018. Got it beat. Love it. Okay. Hilarious. All right, let me get into Slack and get this document. Okay. So let's see here. Devin, you guys are in here. Can I like open this document in front of people? I'm sure it's fine. It doesn't seem like there's anything in here. Okay. So what we have is Laravel version first and foremost. Then we have PHP. Then we have PHP version requirements. We have extensions. I'll keep it up on the Mac for now, but I think as we get into the nitty gritty, we might need to bring this up. Okay. It looks like there are also. So we would kind of want to know. Yeah, I mean, anything we're talking about here is probably public, but yeah, whatever. So we got PHP version extensions. We'll leave this like PHP extensions, just so it's a little more clear. The database. What are we checking with the database here? We're checking like database platform, I think, right? Because I think cloud is. I mean, there's other things. It looks like. Okay, it looks like if you're using like read write and some other. So there's more things than just the platform. It's kind of like your database configuration. We'll call it database configuration, because there's more that's going to do around the database. Okay, what else do we got here? Potential shell usage. Okay, that's interesting. So we've got. So what do we have? Let me just kind of read ahead here. We've got. There's kind of like some code specific stuff that you need to be mindful of. It doesn't seem to stop you, but we would want to kind of leave a comment on the PR and let them know. So I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. This is like shell commands, hard-coded paths. Yeah. Shell commands and hard-coded paths. It's kind of like system. It's not like system dependencies, but it's like. I mean, it's kind of like system dependencies. It's not the right word in this context, though. So it's kind of like. It's kind of like system specific code. That's a terrible name. Let's see here. I'm just going to put it on here. System specific code, right? Or platform specific code, even, if you will. Let's call it platform code. That's not terrible. We're looking for platform code, right? That would be code that's specific to your platform, right? Check for any kind of like platform code. Are you assuming that you're on Windows? Are you running system commands? Things of that nature. We'll start there. I'm just trying to encompass these for now. What else we have? We have some they call it server models. So it's like if you're on Octane, Swole, Roadrunner, FrankenPHP, we need to check for some stuff like that and just kind of let them know what is supported and maybe even how to switch, it looks like. So they call it server models. We'll call this the same thing, server models. Okay, what else we got? There's a couple other. Oh, they call it OS specific. Okay, OS specific assumptions. Legacy code, because it was pre-cloud. Yeah. NPM. All right, so we'll keep going with it. We'll say npm. All right, there's some npm stuff to check. All right, horizon. It might be good. Horizon configuration. Huh. Okay, there's some there's some horizon and browser shot are noted specifically. What I'm going to call this for now, I'm going to call this dependencies. My guess is there's probably going to be, over time, there's probably going to be a handful of dependencies that we're probably going to want to check. And if you have any of those, there might need to be a comment, right? It doesn't like preclude you from, it doesn't prevent you from going to Laravel Cloud, but I think this is a fair start. So I think the goal today might not be that much code. I don't know where we are on time. I like to keep these about 40 minutes. Okay, we're 20 minutes. We're not so bad. Let's do this. Let's generate all these, and then let's go back and like write the one for the Laravel version. I think that's a good start, because then what I might do is pre-fill some of these before the next bit, because some of these things where we're just checking versions, it's just going to be the same thing over and over and over again. So to that point, what I would like to do is probably a 2, maybe a 3-part series. So like the first part, kind of the foundations of Shift. The second part, maybe we'll focus on a more interesting task. And then I think part 3 is like, let's launch it, right? Let's launch it live. Because there's some stuff we have to do on the front end to make a Shift live. So let's generate these. Ba-boom. Extends task. Can I like... I don't want to have to press this like 1,000 times. So let's do this. I'm going to copy that portion. Generate. Cool. Oh, yes. Oh, I said yes. I thought I said yes. Fix you. I remember years ago watching like a YouTube where all they did, and like, I think it was, in fairness, I think it was for Java. But all they did was like use the keyboard and hit Alt-Enter in like JetBrains, and they generated like, that was kind of the shtick of the YouTube video, was like they generated an entire application, like just Alt-Entering and like moving around and generating constructors and all of those types of things. That's what I feel like I'm doing right now. I'm just Alt-Entering and pasting everything. Can you tell I've built shifts before? I need to train like AI to generate these for me. All right. I think we're to the end. Let's jump back out here. Let's run Pint. Probably should have ran Pint dirty. Whoops. Got that old iMac going. Okay, there we go. It wasn't so bad. All right, let's kind of take a look at where we are here. So let's see what we have. Let's make sure everything's in the right spot. Okay, so we made our shift factory. We made the shift itself, and now we have these subtasks of that shift underneath the appropriate namespace. So we've got all the things we just generated there. It seems like everything's okay. Miscellaneous, yeah, okay, void, that's fine. Okay, yes, good. Let's come back to this one. So we're doing like a little tiny thing in advance, right? So in advance, we're basically reading out this major version constraint. Yeah, we're basically reading out this major version constraint. And we're stuffing it into kind of like this shared context. So the point here is like, I don't have to go read the composer file and get the Laravel framework requirement. I kind of have it available to me from this major series here. And series is kind of like major version, right? I just called it series. So if we say shift, so let's get into some code here. Bring this to life. So we'll say shift. I think it's shared data. Let me talk about the shift thing in just a second, but I think it's shared data, yes. And we should be able to get the series. Okay, so shift is a facade. So shift basically has all of these crazy things on it. If we go down in here, it's just a facade, but just like you dig into Laravel, you have all of these things. So while it is a facade, think of it a little bit more like Carbon. So it's technically a facade, but it's more like Carbon in the sense that everything is on this facade. So as we go through some of these things, like you're gonna see file operation, you're gonna see like caching, you're gonna see, it's just everything. I didn't really worry too much about like dividing these up, right? It's not necessarily, this isn't like a shared largest web framework in the world code base, right? This is just honestly like a private code base. I think the only other person that's ever worked on this code base is Jess Archer. So like there's never any public sharing here obviously at all. So there was no need for me to break all of those things up into like a file facade and a cache facade and all of these things. So everything's just under shift to kind of just make my life easy. So you'll see me reference shift a lot, even for things like file IO, because that allows, having it under this facade allows me to test it in a very integration way, which we'll write tests for these too. Maybe next time. I think today let's just crank one out. I'll backfill some tests, and then next time we'll do maybe one of these harder tasks together. Okay, so we have this series now, so we should be able to get some of these easier ones, right? So we can basically immediately just say like if series is greater than or equal to 12, then return. There's nothing we need to do at all. There's no comments to leave. There's no upsells to make. There's no suggestions. There's no changes. There's nothing. If you're 12 or higher, we know you're good. As far as the Laravel version is concerned, we know you're good to run on Laravel Cloud. Is this actually an int? I don't think it matters, like from a PHP perspective. Yeah, it's not actually an int. I think major version, no, it returns a string. Oh yeah, it returns like, yeah, okay, yeah, 12.0. Okay. So it's technically a float. It's technically a float. That's why it's called series and not major version. The series is 12.0. It's not 12. So part of me is wondering if I should do int val. Let's just do the int val there, because we're never really caring about anything else. So here we'll say if series is greater than, I think greater than or equal to 9, then this is where we're going to note. I feel like noting the composer update is not enough. Part of me feels like we bump composer JSON. I think that's the right thing to do. I know we said that this shift is kind of like read-only, but I think that's the right thing to do. This is the requirement of Laravel Cloud. Like, you can say, your composer could say like caret 9.0, and if you run composer update, you're gonna end up here, right? But just in case someone has like something funky, like 2.0, like if they've locked their self there, or just for future like shareability of the project, like I really think we need to make sure that their thing says like a compatible set of things, right? Like it needs to say that. We need to turn this into that to avoid any footgun scenarios where like I said you're good on cloud, you go to cloud, you ran composer update, but then like something happens in the project and they tweak. There's no like history there that someone didn't run composer update somewhere. Whereas if this is there, you're gonna have a diff somewhere in a Git after you ran this, and it's, there's gonna be a record of that someone downgraded the version and made you incompatible with Laravel Cloud, right? So I think this is probably the right thing to do. So actually, while we will still note, I think it's like note and bump composer JSON. And then we can return out of that. And then ultimately, this would basically be like, let's leave a comment here. So Laravel, I'll make all these cleaner later, but I'm just going to leave myself like a little bit of a note. Laravel Cloud requires Laravel 9 or higher, shift detected, ... right? So let's close that up. And then what we can do again is with shift, we can do shift add comment. And this is actually going to be comment create. Whoops, create. Did we not get that? Where are you? Yeah, app models comment. Create. Why am I not getting auto completion? Comment. Create error comment. What is going on, PHP Storm? What is the squiggly here? Multiple definitions for comment exist. I don't know what it's not importing here. Oh, shift comment, not app. Okay, my bad. All right, that was blowing my mind for a second. Okay, so if you're not Laravel 9 or higher, you got an error comment. We want a nice fat X on that comment in the PR to kind of let you know, like, not compatible. Yeah, so that's that. Let's pull this now and so this is where we kind of like, again, a little to-do upsell here, right? Because we can help you out with that. We can help you upgrade, no problem. All right, cool. So yeah, let's do this note and bump thing, because this will actually be a change. This is nice. Let's do this note and bump thing, and then we'll stop here for the day. So let's say this bump composer constraint. And we need to pass it in the series. Do I care about anything else? I don't think so. I think series is going to be good enough. So let's add the method. It knows it's an int. We don't really return anything here. We're going to want that. And we're going to need this. So what we're going to need is like constraints. And this is going to end up, do I want an array or just like a match statement? I think I just want a match statement. Constraint equals match series. So if you're on 9, then is it that or error? I always forget. I think it's this. If you're on 9, then we want caret 952 dot, whoops, 952 dot 20, right? I'm pretty sure, I know the caret typically only has 2 placeholders, but I believe if you pass the third, it still honors going all the way up to like 953 and 954 and all that stuff. If you have a tilde, then it honors the lowest requirement. So you'd only go to 21 and 22 and 23. You'd never actually go up here. But I think the caret allows you to keep going, but sets 20 as a base. So that's what we want. I'm pretty sure. But again, this marking this constraint, and we can make a commit with a message, right? And we're going to have a comment. This lets them know like what we're doing here and why we're doing it. So yeah, let's pump that and this. So we've got that. And then you should never really pass anything else in here. So I think the default's going to be like, do I want to explode? Theoretically, based on what we've done here, you should never be something else. But, you know, again, if I read some weird composer constraint out of there, I'm just trying to think. I think for now we're going to default null this sucker. And then like if is null, we'll just return for now. To do, I'm gonna TDD this path out. I just want to make sure I kind of clean that up. But for now, I think so. All right, cool. Caret allows updates that don't change the leftmost non-zero digit. Oh, allows updates that don't. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's an interesting way. Leftmost, that's an interesting way to look at it. Very technical way to look at it. I got you. All right, cool. So now we need to composer equals composer config read, and then basically we'll say composer update Laravel framework with the constraint composer write. All right, there it is. So we'll read the composer file in, we'll bump the Laravel framework package constraint, and then we'll write it back. So this could technically change something. So if we go look at tasks, part of being a task is to have a commit. Now, not everything commits something, so I don't have to define it. But in this case, if you are on 9 or something else, then we're gonna actually end up making a commit. So let's go ahead and make this commit function, and we'll say commit, or not comment, commit, and we'll commit with message, and we'll say meet. I don't like this, but we could say something like meet minimum constraint. We could say like enforce minimum constraint. There might be something else here. I can make it with like a body as well. And again, we still need to leave a comment. So let's borrow this. So I think that with a comment's completely fine. We could probably make that a bit softer. We do need a comment down here, and instead we're going to create an info comment. Now I'm not going to write all these like marketing comments in front of everybody, but you know, while your Laravel framework, or we could say shift detected your Laravel framework constraint is compatible with Laravel Cloud. ... So it's compatible, but we need to do, you know, you might want to do some other things, right? So we'll come back to that too. So let's just to-do tag that so I can come back to it. All right, so that's the upsell, and then here we could just say bump I think bump minimum requirement's a little softer than enforce. That's not really common terminology inside of Shift. So we could just say bump minimum requirement, right? So we're just making sure you're already on that version. We're just kind of making sure that that's your minimum, you know, minimum requirement. So again, when we see all this, when we actually run all this in like the next stream or you know, the future stream here, when I see it on GitHub and I see the messages, that's when I kind of get a little more nitpicky about the wording and the grammar. I think for now, I need to have something there so I can get something out. Okay, so that's the Laravel version. I think we're in a pretty good place. I mean, you can see here most of these tasks are pretty small. I mean, they're less than 100 lines. A lot of it's the skeleton of the class. So we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go through and do the same thing for the PHP version. So that's basically gonna be a copy paste. Instead of looking at Laravel, we're gonna see if they have a PHP requirement in there. Same with the extensions. I think the platform code and the database configuration would be like the most fun to build in regards of seeing more parts of Shift. Like right now, we're just kind of looking at Composer in a lot of these dependents. I mean, pretty much all the rest of these look at Composer. I think these three like might actually like inspect some code. They're going to look for some functions. They're going to do some things. I think this platform code is probably the biggest one that would reveal and demonstrate more pieces of Shift, right? So that's the one we're going to work on next time. I think we'll work on that in part 2. And and then I'll fill in the blanks on whatever else is done. And then basically part 3 is like, let's run this and push it live, right? So 3 parts, 3 Wednesdays. We'll have this done, mid-January, and people can use it to check to make sure that their Laravel applications are cloud ready, right? Think on the name. Let me know what you think on the name. Hit me up on Twitter, whatever. Tell Devin, tell the team what you think. But yeah, cloud ready. That's kind of fun. Fast track or fast path. I think there was some things mentioned here. Pre-flight, pre-check. There's something there. There's something in there. We'll see. We could always tap Taylor. He's the wordsmith, right? So, but yeah, I think there's something here. Pre-check, pre-flight, whatever. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you all next Wednesday.